Hi, my name is Joan and I work at the Yankton Community Library with the youth. I am going to introduce you to three books that I have read recently that I think are good reads. The first one is called The Return by Nicholas Sparks. It's about a guy by the name of Trevor who is in Afghanistan and he is a surgeon there. And eventually there is a bomb that blows off right next to his hospital, which makes him incapable to stay in the war. He has many injuries, and then he returns back home to New North Carolina, and he lives in his father's cabin right now. And during this time, he meets this lady. Her name is Natalie. And Natalie, she is a very interesting person, and she has these secrets, like she's very distant from him, but she really is attracted to him, but she doesn't want to get real close to him because she has these things going on in her life that she does not want anyone else to know about. So what she does is she kind of keeps her distance, but yet she shows interest in him. And then there's this girl, this teenage girl down the road from her grandfather's house. And she is kind of a very interesting little girl. She's not very little, but she says she's 19, but she really isn't. And she used to be a friend of his grandfather. And so she knew some things about his grandfather that she wasn't talking to him about. She didn't want to say anything about his grandfather. And his grandfather, he did die from kind of a mysterious death, and he was wondering what went on there. And so they kind of are really distant from him, and that kind of complicates everything that goes on in his life. And he's trying to find out what really happened to his grandfather, and they don't let him know. And so I'm not going to ruin the end of the story. I just want you to look into the story and read it and see how you feel about the story. And Nicholas Sparks always writes good stories, so I hope you enjoy this story also. Okay, the second story I'd like to introduce you to is called Midnight Library by Matt Haig. And this story is about a girl by the name of Nora who just lost her job and her best friend, and she lost her brother and a cat. And Nora is totally depressed, and she decides that life is too difficult. So what she decides to do is to commit suicide. Okay? Then she ends up, instead of between life and death, she ends up in this library. It's called Midnight Library. And so there's all these different types of books up there. And in these books, she can decide if she wants to live that life or not. One of the books that she looked into was her being a CEO. And that she just didn't really care for that either. Okay, then another book, it took her into the life of being a mother. And then another book took her into the life of being a rock star and an Olympic swimmer, and all these different lives that she could end up having if she wanted them. But then she finds out that no life is perfect. Every life that she looked at had some bad and difficult times in it. So she decided that this was not such a bad life after all. But now I just want you to continue to read and see what she actually does, or what life she really prefers. But it's basically, the story is to let you know that no life is perfect. All lives have difficulties in them. And that you shouldn't try to be somebody that you're not. You need to be yourself, because that's the way you will be happy. The third book I'd like to share with you is called Window on the Bay by Debbie McComber. The two characters that are in the story is Jenna, who is a nurse, and Maureen, who is a librarian. They're really good friends in college, and one of their goals was to go to Paris after they graduated from college. But something happened with Maureen. She got pregnant, and so they were unable to go. And in the meantime, Jenna, she got married and she had 2 children, but then she ended up getting a divorce. Now that their children are growing, they're all alone at home, and they think, wow, this is a great time now. We can go to Paris. There's nothing to interfere with our plans. We can just go now. But in the process, Jenna, she is charmed by a Dr. Rowan who works in the hospital where she does. And the reason she meets this doctor is because, first of all, her mother falls and she has to go to the doctor, and she ends up going to this Dr. Rowan. So she has a lot of communication with this doctor, and she starts to get some interest in him. But she's a little worried about it because her first husband was a surgeon and they got divorced. So she just kind of doesn't know if this is the route that she should take. And in the meantime, we have Marine who meets a construction worker. Okay, he comes to the library all the time and wants to look at books of how to do different types of architect and stuff like that. So she becomes interested in him. And so it kind of complicates everything because they want to go to Paris, but yet they met these two guys that they're really interested in. And so I'm not going to tell you the rest of the story because I want you to find out what happens to the two girls and if they ever get to go to Paris. It's been really interesting and fun doing these reviews for you, and I hope you will grab one of these books and you will enjoy it just like I did. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.